living by candlelight in homes thatched by mud. So my suggestion is, if you really insist on this right, then keep to the spirit of it, which means you can still own a gun, but it must be a musket. Hey, come on, that's what the Founding Fathers had in mind. Let's see how tough today's gangs are when they have to deal with a weapon that needs to be cleaned every time, and loaded with a shot, and a musket ball, and packed with gunpowder. There's your 5-day waiting period. They say guns don't kill, people do. Yeah, people with guns, and people with too much alcohol, and people with guns and too much alcohol, or cars and alcohol. Hey, believe it or not, alcohol was banned by an amendment to the Constitution in 1920, yeah. The 18th Amendment says, and I quote, "The manufacture, sale, or the exportation of intoxicating liquors within, the importation thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited." Anyway, in plain English, that's what this amendment means, no drinking. The 18th Amendment refers to prohibition, a time when alcoholic beverages were forbidden, and New Year's Eve was a good night to catch up on your reading. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, can I go to the bathroom right now? No. What you're wondering is, why prohibition in 1920? Why not in the 1700s? Well, first of all, prohibition flies in the face of the Bill of Rights. You know, the first 10 amendments, because it takes away rights. Secondly, the early American settlers weren't opposed to drinking, just to being drunk. Drunk people may seem kind of funny for a couple of minutes, but they're not exactly great farmers or builders. Even revolutionary speeches lose a little when you're slurring your words. So drunks gave drinking a bad name, and alcohol was constitutionally banned. No drinking, selling, transporting, making. We weren't exactly a laugh a minute in those days. Except that, of course, crime took over. Organized crime took over the liquor business, made piles of money, bribed the police, corrupted the judges, paid off the lawmakers. I'm sure you can't possibly imagine any of that stuff happening today. Yeah. Then, in 1933, the 21st Amendment erased the Prohibition Amendment. But how much has really changed? Sure, alcohol's legal, but many drugs are not.
Officials say the Cali cartel is responsible for 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the U.S.
You acknowledge there will be an increase in drug use.
No matter whether you smoke it, whether you chew it, or whether you dip it, it's deadly and addictive.
As far as fat and heart disease are concerned, movie theater popcorn is certainly one of the single worst foods you can buy.
We can't even agree on what exactly is a drug. Now, I'm certainly not advocating things that are bad, addictive, or mind-altering, like Melrose Place, for example. But I do think that our government lets us put all kinds of things into our bodies, prescription drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and Twinkies and bacon, that are just as bad as marijuana and some other illegal drugs. So think the next time you're in the cafeteria.
A drunken driver slammed his pickup truck into a church bus.
Maybe drugs are just like guns, and the real problem is with the people who abuse them.
Witness will confine his answers to the questions.
When you abuse things like guns and drugs, you end up in court. All of us are affected by what goes on in court, and the drafters of the Bill of Rights knew this.
He will respond asserting his constitutional right not to testify.
I would like the Colonel to assert his constitutional right, counsel.
And I would request, after the Colonel asserts his right, sir, that you not ask other questions.
They made sure that we retained our rights even in court, even when we're the accused.
Mr. Hamilton, on the advice of counsel, I respectfully and regretfully decline to answer the question based on my constitutional rights.
And they did it through the Fifth Amendment, which says, like, we don't have to say things that incriminate ourselves, and we can't be hung twice for the same crime. Boy, talk about cruel and unusual punishment. The Sixth Amendment ensures the right to a speedy trial in public. Boy, too bad they don't say anything about the DMV in the Constitution, huh? And with a lawyer on your side. The Seventh Amendment gives us a trial by a jury of our peers. And the Eighth Amendment does say no cruel and unusual punishment, which kind of makes me wonder what kind of things the British were doing to prisoners. I mean, electrocution in the gas chamber seemed bad enough, but I guess they're not that bad compared to torture and disemboweling and burning alive and beheading. Now, we do have the death penalty in some states, and let's face it, that's pretty cruel. And isn't the electric chair, I don't know, fairly unusual? I mean, it's a chair, but the armrests have enough electricity in them to stop your heart? For my money, I think a great idea would be to take death row criminals and use them as stuntmen in Schwarzenegger films. Sure, it's kind of unusual, but it's much less cruel and a lot more glamorous than just laying around in solitary waiting to get zapped. But hey, that's just my interpretation of the Eighth Amendment. The courts have theirs. Ultimately, it's their job to interpret all these great constitutional one-liners and apply them to our lives today.
U.S. District Judge Wayne Anderson ruled today that conducting gun sweeps in Chicago housing projects was a greater evil than the danger of criminal activity.
Today, I am proud to nominate Judge Stephen Breyer to serve on the United States Supreme Court.
But just think for a second how much control we have over these courts. We elect the people who appoint the judges. Elections are a huge part of our rights. Of the last 17 amendments to the Constitution, 7 are about voting. The 15th Amendment granted voting rights to blacks. Amendment 15 says, "The right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." The 19th Amendment gave voting rights to women in 1920. Amendment 19 says, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex." And the 26th Amendment granted the right to vote to 18-year-olds. Amendment 26 says, "The right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of age." Okay, so that's everybody. White guys, of course, right from the beginning. Blacks, other races, women, 18-year-olds, everybody votes. Although, to be honest, I think some people probably shouldn't. I mean, if you don't know anything about any of the candidates or the issues, but you vote for some guy because Marky Mark did a dance about him on MTV, good luck. Well, soon, you will be able to vote, and then you'll have to make a big decision. Do I actually go and vote, or do I get home in time for MASH reruns? Now, the point is, things like gun control will be on your ballot, and some of these questions will be decided in courts, juries of your peers, judges elected by you or appointed by people elected by you. It's pretty scary. It's really up to all of us to decide all these issues. Again, it's we the people. Old, young, rich, poor, black, white, yellow, red, men, women, Jews, Catholics, Hindu, Muslim, atheists. Who am I leaving out? Protestants? Everybody. We're all the concern of the Bill of Rights.
When you have a terrorist come across from New Jersey and blow up the World Trade Center and kill 6 people.
In less than an hour, the compound that had fascinated the world for 51 days was destroyed in a raging inferno.
So come Monday morning, the church will serve breakfast to the homeless in a new neighborhood that isn't eager to break bread with them yet.
Can we all get along? Can we get along?
Can we all get along? Can we share these rights, exercise these rights, and enjoy these rights? Well, that brings us to the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Amendment. Amendment 14 says, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." Yeah, it was a very popular T-shirt back then. No, look, what it means is that all citizens have all the rights ensured in the Constitution. You, me, Hillary Clinton, Jeff Dahmer, Ice-T, anybody named Ice. Anything. Same laws, same privileges, same protection. And protecting our individual rights is why the Bill of Rights was proposed over 200 years ago. You can only fully enjoy the rights you know you have. And you only have rights that everybody else has too. And all these rights were secured by people in history, a history you should know so you can enjoy now, understand today, and get more from life tomorrow. Those guys in ruffles 200 years ago deserve our respect and our thanks, but they would not want our reverence. They want our continuing participation. We are still arguing about the same things that they argued about, still concerned with the same things that bothered them. More than our just learning about them, let's let ourselves disagree. Let ourselves protect and respect each other by using our rights with responsibility.